Oh, it's a shame no one will ever hear that.
I didn't even hear it.
Yeah.
Well, and we're back, so thanks for joining in. Hope you caught the first half of
time
this.
by talking about your game, your drinking game.
Yeah, great, cool. There is a drinking game. Not for us, because we need to be on top form. But for you at home, you probably don't need to be on top form. So what you can do is, whenever you feel like drinking, just take a drink of water, okay?
I'm just going to zoom in on you a little bit, because it keeps refocusing.
Okay.
And it makes it very hard to pay attention.
I'll speak for yourself, but okay.
Hydration is important.
Hydration is key.
Hydration is key. I recently started drinking more water, and it hasn't made much of a difference.
That's so interesting. I've actually started drinking a lot less water, and I find myself blacking out quite regularly. Often unable to stand. I get dizzy spells. Do you get that?
I consistently drink water.
This is amazing content.
Okay.
Adventures Wanted Mixtape, sponsored by Evian.
Hey! Hopefully, our camera seems to be doing a little bit of auto focusing. Hopefully that'll calm down. Apologies if not. At the moment, it's not something we control. Our camera is fancy and likes to do things on its own. But
we all?
Enough admin like that. Thank you for joining. This is Adventures Wanted Mixtape, and tonight we are going to be playing Warrior Poet, which is a really cool game brought by Grant Howitt, where we will each be our own romantic, incredibly extreme, beautiful, elegant, fierce warrior poets, fighting in various means, but largely through writing competitive haiku. So I'm going to kind of introduce the general world that we're going to be playing in, because the game comes with some pre-made settings, but because the one thing that we all reliably know is high fantasy ham, that's what we've come with today.
It's set in a butcher's, so keep an eye out for those jokes.
Yeah, keep an eye out for just the butchers in the background of all of the fights, which I think should be a thing.
We are fighting meat.
In a way, isn't that sort of everything?
Today's soldier is tomorrow's flesh.
Everything's meat if you're not a coward.
Today's soldier is
wood.
tomorrow.
That's not meat, it's wood.
Alright, yeah.
Anyway.
Why would you fight wood?
I don't know. Hey.
Greta Thunberg's going to want some words with you.
Oh, God.
Are you quite finished?
Thanks, Tom. So
This weird news anchor thing.
for tonight, it's hard not to do news anchor when I'm trying to be faintly authoritative but friendly, because I don't want to be mean. So I fall into news anchor.
That will change as the game goes on.
Yeah.
You're doing a wonderful job, Chloe.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mum.
Anyway, so yeah, we're doing it in a high fantasy setting. So we are going to be playing in the Mithrune realm, which is a sprawling magical society in faraway lands. And in the final days of the fading realm, artisans, warrior poets of unmatched skill and beauty roam the land. They're inspirational leaders, precise hunters, fearsome guardians, and passionate lovers. However, everything that burns so bright must fade come the end of the year. Artisan lose their power. They will die at their own hand or at the hands of another, or they will fade away to nothing. And each one of us is one of those, is a warrior poet. The deathless sovereign who rules over the Mithrune realm is weary, and has ruled over us since before time began. The land is dying and the people are restless, and yet the sovereign only cares for haiku. The deathless sovereign appoints warrior poets every year to defend the realm and to lead the people and to solve the problems that threaten to tear it apart from within. But, most of all, they appoint them to create haiku. Tales of love and loss, beauty and betrayal, of blood and death and hope. So, we've done a tiny bit of prep before the stream with characters, beginning with Tom over there. You can take this if you need it to remember the details of your guild. Each of our characters is from a different guild. And if we could just do a little introduction for who we're going to play.
Yeah, sure. Great. Thanks. So, I'll be going first in this introduction, but I'll be going last in the game because my favourite season, is winter. We do it in 4 seasons, and my faction are the Guardians of the Lake. They're impassive mages, craftsfolk. They value gold above all others, and are viewed by some people, not by themselves, as hucksters or tricksters. So, deal with that how you want. My character is called Hawk and Pale. They each have character ranks. The rank that Hawkan has ascended to is the rank of the coldest. So make of that what you will.
Bad circulation.
Actually, hopefully they'll make it through to winter, but they might not survive the spring. I guess of the categories that we have here, the most beautiful thing that Hawkan possesses is a silver osprey's feather that was part of his late mother's necklace. It keeps around his neck in a similar sort of fashion. When Hawkan moves, you see he moves with grey robes that blend with the terrain he's in, and a kind of a pale silken cowl. If you ever see inside these robes, they're actually not pale silver on the inside, but gleaming gold.
Mm-hmm.
You'll also see loads of daggers. Just absolutely loads of them.
Nice.
You know, golden daggers. That's
Nice.
kind of the vibe.
Nice.
Hawkan's style, he moves like a soft breeze, kills like a harsh winter, and dances like the bottom of a lake. Rumour has it, he has some ancestry in common with birds of prey and used to be a ranger, and so has been far and wide in the world of Mithrin. Last things last, Hawkan has got a sword, which is a light blade of, you guessed it, silver, with a slight curve at the top, and this tapered edge means that it is silent, apart from the inevitable screams.
Nice.
And a stubby shotgun pistol. If you look into both barrels, you'll see the yawning void. A lot of the stuff was maybe more fun to write down than it was to say. but thanks for listening.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Justin.
Hello. I am playing Harthenrod Greenbeard, Great Aurochs of the Oaken Circle, who is a member of the
Their first name?
Harthenrod Greenbeard.
Harthenrod is the full first name.
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Who is a member of the Callers of the Forests Guild, who are favoured in summer. Hunters and tamers of beasts, often as headstrong and unpredictable as the creatures they track and kill, famed for their violence. So probably quite loud, except when they don't want to be. Harthenrod Greenbeard is a mighty oak of a man, hugely strong, yet moves with a surprising agility, and can as easily dance between the smallest twigs of a tree without touching the ground as he can uproot said tree and batter someone with it. He's kind of chubby, got a bit of weight on him, but still moves through the forest elegantly. He was previously a deep woods herder, who are the sort of herding group of the Callers of the Forest, who... so with the sort of wilder creatures that resist taming, as is right for the Callers of the Forest, they sort of invisibly with a gentle hand sort of herd them through the forest by sort of removing brush or encouraging the growth of different plants that they like to eat, and so manage to, with a sort of light touch, move them through and keep their populations healthy and strong. The most beautiful thing about Harthenrod Greenbeard is his great beard of living leaves and superb set of many-tined antlers. So he's got huge kind of many-tined antlers that come out of his head, and a rich beard made of living leaves that reflect the season in which he is.
Can I ask, tined?
Tine. It's like a point. So a fork has tines. Tines. So here, that one's for free. The others are 50 pence.
Here for a good time, not a long time.
Yay!
Thank you.
Who has a shimmering robe of twisting plants, appropriate to the season once more, and kind of thematic colours of sort of green, brown, gold. I mean, imagine the generic seasonal colours, and you're probably not far off. He also has a tunic of tanned hide, decorated with hundreds of golden yellow teeth and pieces of ivory that kind of form their way into almost like a scaled skin, and a pendant of a single gigantic chunk of unfashioned amber. He doesn't have a sword. He has an axe known as Splitter Hue, which is a huge polished stone axe, a green stone axe, and instead of a pistol, he has a bow called Whisper Shard, which is a sort of thick, sort of almost like as thick as a tree trunk bow, made out of a single yew tree, split in half, that can shoot an arrow, it is rumoured, through a mountain.
Jeez.
and that's Hearth and Rod Greenbeard.
Lovely.
I am playing a character called Luma, which is short for bioluminescence, if anyone's wondering. But she just goes by Luma. She's a member of the Holders of the Caverns, which are favoured in autumn. They are keepers of secrets, defenders of treasure, and fierce survivors who can live with or without the sun, known for their determination and cunning. Luma has reached the rank of the Silver Seam in her order. Her style is patient. She's basically spent her time and her years growing up underground, defending the caverns from all the horrors and all the treasures that lurk below there. When she moves, she is constantly grounded. She never seems to bounce or lose her footing anyway. Like, she's completely in tune with the ground, and seems to be able to move really without looking where she's going, or needing to kind of observe things. The most beautiful thing about her are her eyes, which are also very creepy because they look like basically carved stone that have been carved into the shape of eyes in her eye sockets rather than actual eyes, and they glimmer with a sort of bioluminescent to make them look like a little bit like wet. Her robes are sort of like oil slicks. They are very dark, heavy, slightly damp, but looking very carefully, you see they are inset with tiny, beautiful carved jewellery from the many gems down in the caverns. In terms of her sword, she wields a climbing knife and a completely clear pick, which is basically made of solid diamond, and has no pistol, but is very accurate and very deadly at throwing small engraved gems, which if any of the victims survived their shot, they would see are beautifully carved, each with an intricate, unique design.
Nice.
That's Luma.
Kill people and make them rich.
Yeah.
This is for your funeral.
I am going to be playing Lycetra, her of the Endless Memory, who is one of the Keeper of the Mountains and has risen to the rank of High Defender. The Keeper of the Mountains, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Have many qualities, I hear.
They are lookouts and guardians who give their lives over in service of others, their great wisdom only outpaced by their steely resolve when crossed. So Lycetra, her style, she used to be a bodyguard to some of the most kind of highly renowned and respected people within the Mithrine realm before becoming a warrior poet. And she actually has, not to kind of like continue an eye theme, entirely white eyes, which have faded over the course of her life. The more she has seen and the more that she has taken into her endless memory, the more that has whited out and just disappeared until she has entirely white eyes. The most beautiful thing about her is the silent stoicism with which she moves. She could be at the peak of a mountain in the middle of a raging storm, and not her nor the hairs on her head even would move or blink at all, if she so chooses. Her robes are largely, from the outside, it looks like a series of animal hides, and when she decides to move at speed, it looks like a running pack of animals.
Ooh, cool.
But when she actually stops, and if you ever saw on the inside of her robes, it looks almost like you're looking into a cavern itself, or like the mouth of a cavern at a mountain. And she has a sword which looks like it's forged from a mountain itself, with the kind of hilt of it is out of just bare hard rock, and then the blade looks as though it was just forged out of ice itself. And her pistol is actually a mighty shotgun the length of her entire arm, which is black as night and seems to just draw light into it. So that is Lycetra. So, we have a few things to kind of add in before we get into the story bit, which is our bonds and our desires, and also a little bit more about the Mithrine realm, which we'll start off with. Each one of us is going to write down an important person in the Mithrine realm. So yeah, important person, a neighbouring land, and why there might be some conflict between this neighbouring land and the Mithrine realm. And additionally, an internal struggle or problem within the Mithrune realm. Internal struggle or problem. If you haven't already started writing, then start now. We'll just take like 30 seconds or something, because it's not the most exciting thing on a stream to watch people silently writing.
That's my favourite type of stream.
Is that
Is
ADR
that
stuff?
what you sit at home watching, Justin?
Yeah, just people writing in silence.
Yeah.
It's like an ASMR thing.
Can you hear the writing?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So it's just that.
It's not actually true. I was just doing a bit.
I know. I was just
sort of got carried away
continuing,
with
but
that.
then we kind of went down.
Don't really know where I was going with that. I'm sorry. Sorry, stream.
Sorry, stream.
Sorry.
I'm pausing now.
Can it be any type of internal struggle?
Yeah. Why'd you say any type?
I don't know, I'm just looking for ideas here.
It can be kind of, I don't know, you could make it like there's not many resources, it could be shortage of resources thing, it could be like civil war, it could be differences in beliefs. Yeah. Any kind of internal struggle. Everyone got some stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Cool. Let's first hear neighbouring countries and problems, and then out of everyone's suggestions, we will pick one that we will use in the story. Justin, why don't you kick us off?
So with the neighbouring land, it is Brunatar, which is a powerful mageocracy that live on spires that have been enchanted to walk over the land. They're kind of huge crystal spires with sort of huge legs, and they dig in. And what they do then is they kind of pierce the ground with the spire. And the reason there is conflict is because they ruthlessly and recklessly exploit the natural resources of any land they come in contact with. And this is a kind of travelling land that has come nearby. And there is a great fear in Mithrune, who have at least the cause of the forest do have deep respect for nature and fear what the reckless exploitation of these resources will lead to.
Cool. Vic?
I've also come with one which will be of interest to my tribe, because my one is Ilithan, which is a country that borders what we call it again?
Mithrune realm.
The Mithrine realm, but from below.
Ooh!
Oh.
They're underneath us.
Get out of bed.
And they're
Damn.
they're complaining that their ceilings are too low, and they wish to expand higher into our territory.
Oh, nice. My one is the Floating Cloud Citadel, which is probably also inhabited mainly by mages, but because it is literally a huge citadel within a floating cloud, it has actually for quite some years now left parts of the Mithrune realm in the shade, in permanent shade.
They're throwing so much shade.
It's hard to deal with that much shade.
Yeah.
We've had enough. Tom?
Thanks. I was thinking about a joke about allotments dying because of the shade. That's where I was when you threw to me there. Right, so the neighbouring land that I put down is the deep realm of the Earth's heart. Long rumoured to be fake exhibits in artificers and museums, we finally have real evidence that there has been an entire civilization living deep beneath us in the strata. And they claim all the land that is underneath the earth as theirs.
We've got some kind of mind meld.
Yeah,
Got a real layer cake going on
There's
here.
two people like that much on a level, it feels like we should go the people who live underneath us and own everything underneath us and want to expand out.
Yeah.
What's the name?
I think they potentially killed Eelith in a bitter war a few years ago. Yeah.
They did.
So there's been, like,
We're the
an
underground
war.
people. No, we are the...
You call your voice deep?
What's the name of the people who survived and who now we have beef with?
Well, I guess they've got like an alien language to us, but I put them down as the deep realm of the Earth's heart.
Deep realm.
Which sounds like...
So what happened there is that absolutely none of us went. A neighbouring country, that's a country that's next to another.
We're just like, clans, underground, massive walking spires.
I mean,
Let's all be clever!
let's all be clever.
And we all were.
So, the next one is going to be an important person, and this is also going to be someone who is the cause of conflict between two of our guilds. So, Vic, do you want to go first this time?
Yes, I have Cordelia Acton, who was the accolade of being the poorest person in the realm. Which is just a bit of... I had wealthiest person, but no, we're going abstract today. This is the poorest person. It's a bit of a weird claim to have, but it's sort of sought over by most of the impoverished people. And it's really hard because you can't give her too many accolades because then she won't be the poorest anymore. Because if she's
kind
not...
of in a paradox, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got the High Mage Eldril who controls the weather. He is the person in charge of the weather in the Mithrin realm, and therefore being in his good books and having his favour and stuff can massively affect the wealth and the fairings of your guild. Tom?
I've gone for Krantos. She is the chief treasurer who has been accused of corruption. That's what I got.
And mine is Kulosin, who opens the way, who is the lead priest of the death cult, and who, unfortunately, despite being many thousands of years old, has recently gone into a sleep from which they have not awoken. And so all funerary rites and passage into the underworld has been suspended for at least 18 months.
Oh, I don't know about everyone else because this is something I didn't say at the top of the stream, which is that Warrior Poet is a GM-less game. Whilst I'm facilitating because I'm the one who's looked at the rules more, basically, there isn't like one person in charge or one person who gets to make all the decisions, etc. That said, like Sound of a Death Cult, it's really cool.
Pretty cool.
And like the fact that there's no passage to the afterlife or like funerary rites is very interesting.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
What's the name? That's right.
What's the name again?
Kulosin, who opens the way.
Kulosin, who...
And who opens the way is the title of this chief ritual specialist.
And so we can roll for it, or we can just kind of feel it out. Who do we think out of the guilds would be clashing over the person who opens the way, who has been in this deep sleep from which they've not awoken? No one like deals specifically in death.
I guess we have a part of burials
Yeah,
because we control the undergroundness of it all.
true.
But,
And I guess that like death is a fairly central part of like hunting.
Yeah.
also, bodies are going to smell in summer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just pragmatically, think of the corpse stench.
So you both.
That's the worst word I think I've heard this evening.
So far.
So you both of your guilds obviously are affected by and want Kulosin to wake up. But it might just be different like methods.
I think the reason my guild is against Kulosin, I think your guild wants the funeral rites to restart, and my guild is like, we're not doing any funeral rites until he's we're not burying anyone until he's up, because when you bury people down here that are not like properly desecrated and stuff, they come up and they start being zombies and undead stuff, and we have to deal with them. All the zombos in the cavern.
Zombos are the worst.
Yeah, zombos are the worst.
Am I right, guys?
I think
Zombos.
basically there's a definite mood of like, you are not putting anything down here unless it is improperly blessed.
Cool. And then we have the internal struggle or problem, which, for like the sake of simplicity, will probably end up being a reason that our guilds are at odds or in some kind of tension.
Yeah.
For me, I just put there are basically two large schools of thought, which might need to be like if we picked this, we might need to change it because there are those who gift treasures to the caverns as like a coming of age ritual where you are meant to take something that means a lot to you and show that you have grown up enough to relinquish things and put more worth than on a physical thing, and
Lot
you
of
gift it
puppies.
to the
Lot
caverns.
of puppies.
And that's why, for one thing, there's
And
loads of treasure in the caverns to protect. And there are those who think it is deeply antiquated, and who have even at times gone in and tried to take the things that people have left as gifts in
Ooh.
retaliation against them continuing this practice. That's the internal struggle that I'm throwing out there.
Lovely.
I'm going to throw it to Tom. I've just been like slowly going around this way but starting with different people.
Cool.
Clever.
Um,
Never let them see behind the screen, Chloe.
a bastard child has claimed the right to be an heir with force in an outer province. And now bastards all over Mithroon are challenging the legal system by blood or by law to dispute the antiquated laws of inheritance.
Nice.
You're big on like your law and your corruption today.
I've recently been accused of fraud. That's not true. That I'm aware of. It's just on the mind, you know.
Yeah, just on your mind. Just on
Just
your
on the
mind.
mind.
Cool.
It's, like,
Just,
it's a deathless sovereign. What are they hoping for?
Oh, but not everyone in the realm is deathless, right?
Oh,
And
that's-
yeah.
for everyone else, inheritance is a live issue. And
Oh,
there's an
you mean like
ability,
other
right?
bastard mother? I just assumed that the deathless sovereign got real busy.
Uh,
And just
no.
had to fucking load them. And I was like, oh,
I mean, if they're deathless, I mean, they've been around for a
Oh,
while.
yeah,
yeah.
Like,
How many children could you produce in X thousand years?
Stay tuned to find out.
Justin.
so mine is a little bit of a sort of similar vein, which is that traditionally, so the deathless sovereign is in fact essentially a hive mind composed of all of the previous people who have inhabited the role of the deathless sovereign, and upon accession to the throne, the candidate absorbs that kind of super being and therefore becomes one with this deathless sovereign consciousness. And traditionally that is done via a mixture of kind of a mixture of a democratic process and of a kind of, you know, throwing the runes and selecting the right candidates who are then voted for.
Yeah.
But there is an increasing monopoly on this position being held by a powerful family, and it seems to be starting to become hereditary rather than the sort of ritual election which previously took form.
Nice.
Would the deathless sovereign just become more and more conservative over time? The individual weight of each soul
Yeah.
joining, less and less influence on the mass.
Yeah.
Just a spitball.
Just a thought. Just a thought.
I slightly panicked when we got this last one. So I just wrote, probability's gone a bit weird. And some people are taking advantage.
And some people are taking it hard.
Well,
I'm
that's
going to
it.
roll the 6-sided dice. 9!
But to be fair, basically,
No, the
a lot
Dotleys.
of people, there are some very educated schools of thought that are pointing out that probability's gone a bit weird, and you shouldn't be able to roll that many numbers of that many times and do that, and that's just very strange to happen. It's probably, and a lot of people who have been benefited from this are going, no, it's just probability, though, isn't it? It's not a thing. They're like, no, because you can't. If you flip a coin, it's got to land one side. It can't land in the middle.
I mean, your guild are viewed as liars and tricksters, so you could have like manipulated probability.
We're viewed like that from the outside. But we are people of honour and courage. And I thought better of you than leaning into those harmful stereotypes.
Okay. Are there any that particularly grab you in terms of having it between our guilds?
Yeah. Can we refresh my memory?
The people who gift to the caverns and the people who are against that tradition.
Yeah.
The deathless sovereign seems to be becoming more hereditary rather than like a democratic thing. Probability's gone a bit weird.
Yeah.
And you're one.
I'm a big fan of this deathless sovereign one, because that
Okay.
feels like a very natural site for a power struggle, as well as being quite nice conceptually.
Does your guild fall on the side of no, we always respect the deathless sovereign, or we need to start questioning the whole process by which we create a deathless sovereign?
It does depend on which family is the one who's getting a lot of sovereigns.
Yeah.
And if it's us, we're right behind the process.
Yeah.
And if it's not us, we're dead against the process.
I'd say, can it be that you are behind the process?
hmm
Since the keepers of the mountains are people who like do servitude to others and guardians, and probably will start going, no, the people deserve more choice than this kind of vibe.
Okay, so we've sort of stitched it up slightly.
Yeah, you're a little bit behind it, and you're kind of into it, and it's benefiting you.
Yeah.
And the keepers of the mountains are kind of stoically looking on with a single tear rolling down their cheek.
Yeah.
Looking at this 1% of sovereign.
And we're like, it's a real shame it's so unequal, but we are the 1%.
Yeah.
Some could say probability has gone a bit weird.
And they could.
Cool. So to recap that, then we will quickly go on to bonds and desires, and then kick off all the storytelling and haiku writing. We are in the Mithrin realm. There is the deep realm of the Earth's Heart, which are a neighbouring land of people who actually are beneath us and claim ownership.
They're
No-
not
no one
happy
else
if
said
you
that.
phrase it like that.
Geographically, they live in the beneath us, and have claimed like the Earth's core and such like as their own. There is some tension between the callers of the forest and the holders of the cavern over Colosan, who opens the way, who has been in a deep sleep, and due to that, funeral rites are not occurring, and bodies are not, souls are not passing to the afterlife. And there's also tension between the keepers of the mountains and the guardians of the lakes over the increasingly, seemingly hereditary-based system for growing and developing the endless sovereign. So.
Which one was what our beef was over Colossum?
You want to get rid of the bodies because they're starting to smell,
Right.
and usually they get buried in the ground in the
Right.
caverns. And my tribe is saying you're absolutely not burying anyone until proper funeral rites have been conducted. So either you wake him up or you get someone new, but we're not having him down here.
Right. Cool.
Basically.
Do people want to do rolls for love and hate? Because randomising always seems kind of
Yeah,
fun
round
with
is
this
always
one.
fun.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to roll a d6. 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6 for love. I love you. And I'm going to figure out why in a second. And I hate you. I mean, that's kind of obvious.
You were saying that pre-game, but I guess this is more meaningful.
I want to just work out our issues through tabletop roleplay gaming, because I think that's a really healthy way to do it.
I'm sure they can't be resolved.
Especially on live stream.
Yeah, I want to do it in a public forum
Yeah.
through roleplay in
basically-
an unpredictable storytelling.
Basically, Jeremy Kyle with dice rolls.
That show's been taken off air.
Shall we
God,
all
yeah.
roll
Yeah.
and then all do reasons so we can think of them?
Yeah,
Just
everyone,
observation. Sorry.
like in turn roll, and then we will kind of write up reasons, and we'll share reasons once everyone's rolled.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For love. Justin, I love you again.
Again, it's because we did a test game of this where their characters loved each other. Just to
And we
context
hate
that
our
again.
translation. Oh, it's getting old, isn't it?
I was also really mean to Vic earlier today. So
I see.
And I also hate you. Can that happen?
Reroll. All
I'd say
conflicted.
Re-roll because it'll be more fun to play it
Yeah.
really huge rather
Can
than
I-
have to do like a kind
Can
of
I re-roll?
conflicted
Can I
thing.
re-roll love because I loved Justin last time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you hate Justin this
I
time.
hate Justin. I want to actually go with my tribe's alliances
Careful,
for
'cause
once.
that'll be loud if we roll on that.
6. I love you, babe.
Finally, I know what love is like.
And it is a fist bump.
It felt like something.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I love you.
Oh. I'm quite glad though, because I thought we'd literally redoing the other game again.
And I hate You.
Again.
I hated Tom last time, so I might.
You can't hate Tom again.
Oh no, I didn't. I was going to,
do.
and then I hated you instead.
But
So
then through the game, you developed a fresh hate for me through roleplay.
Oh yeah, that's right. So I'm gonna just roll with it.
Cool.
I hate you.
Remind me of your character again. So why would I love you?
Hawk and Pale. You would love them because Hawken is so stylish and enigmatic, and is
That'll
very
do it.
softly spoken as to almost be silent. So kind of a blank slate for
Oh,
you to
silent.
project.
No, but that's actually good because she doesn't like noise.
Okay, great. Just to check, is the deathless sovereign? Is it, or is it the,
Deathless.
or is the endless sovereign?
It is the deathless sovereign, but we keep saying endless, so it's either deathless or endless.
Great.
Because I've said that I am her of the endless memory.
Oh, that's what. Cool.
That's
Thanks.
why we've got confused.
Great. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I love you.
Ah, what a shame that I hate you.
Oh, I love Lycetra. And I hate you. I'm afraid.
Me?
Hearth and Rod.
Oh.
Yeah. I hated you last time. I'm gonna re-roll that.
Me.
I hate you.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, does anyone
Luma.
love anyone who doesn't hate them back?
Do you hate me?
No, I don't. I hate.
Okay, so I love you, and you're just like
Ambivalent, yeah.
yeah, ambivalent towards me. Cool. I've decided that I hate Hawkan because actually I envy and resent your avian ancestry.
That's really great and good because the reason that I love Lystera is because she knows all and she has touched my feathered hands and not judged.
I do respect your strength. I mean, the avian ancestry, I hate you for it because I think I don't feel like you're worthy of it. It feels like too great a gift to be bestowed on someone such as yourself, but I can't deny your strength.
Okay.
And I love doing that. And I think I love you because of the stance that you have taken against, who is it, the Callers of the Forests. Because I do find them violent and erratic. And as someone who also has an affinity for and a respect for the caverns, because the caverns are linked to the mountains, there is something about your strength in opposing them that I love. But your valuing of treasure seems shallow to me.
That's fair.
Anyone want to share
Thank you,
reasons and whys? Reasons and whys?
Reasons why.
Welcome back to another episode of Raisins and Wine.
I love Harkon because he is silent and I feel respects the ways of the caverns. Even if he is not part of them, he lets us go around and do what we need to do. Doesn't try to interfere. But I worry that I will never really understand him.
Doesn't understand himself.
And I hate Hearth and Rod because he is impractical and dogmatic. However, I respect the work he does defending the outside bits of the world, is what the people of the caverns refer to the rest of the world. The outside bits.
The outsidey bits.
The outsidey bits, yeah.
Nice. I love Luma because I love her self-control. She has such control, it's inspirational. But she gives me so little back, and that hurts me. And I hate Hawken. I am jealous of Hawken's reserve, for he has such control and such discipline, and though I love living life, I hate that I cannot control my outbursts. But Earth, damn, I respect him.
I hate Luma. She is a fanatic against the Callers of the Forest. But as someone who is fickle, I respect her resolve. And I love Lystera because she knows all. She has touched my feathered hands and she flinched not. But I fear she thinks I am inadequate.
So the last thing for us is to define our desires. Go as big as you want. Because these are the things that we will be trying to achieve over the next coming 4 seasons before we die, either in glorious duel or fading away, wreathed in shame.
If you're watching at home, this could be a good time to have a sip of water if you want to. But if you don't feel any pressure, okay? Thanks. Stay tuned.
Instead, take a sip of oil.
Or if you don't want to, you don't have to. But if you would like a small sip of the oil, help yourself. I know I love it.
Any oil will do. Crude, olive,
Castor.
whatevs.
Yeah, what else?
Even argan will work.
Oh, fish oil, perhaps?
Okay, I've got two desires. They're kind of linked. I don't know if that's a bit cheesy, but my biggest desire is to end the new tyrant's reign. I'm gonna call him a tyrant. You may not, but I say what things are, and he / the strange, nebulous, mental hive mind of the Deathless Sovereign is a tyrant, and a desire is to actually convert all guilds to my cause in this matter. Which is secondary to that, but I wish to do this with as many people as possible in order to honour the many and varied people that make up the Mithrin realm, and not to act in a tyrannical way myself.
Real talk. I will write a poem so beautiful it makes a stone weep, that will make ice smile. And I will make sure this is the last ascension to the Deathless Sovereign by destroying the Rod of Ascension, and thereby keeping the Deathless Sovereign in their current state forever. This is a secret, but I'm telling you for story.
Oh, so big. I guess so big.
Thanks.
I will finally alert the other tribes to the peril faced from those below us who wish to use that. We have been playing whack-a-mole with them too long, and we will vanquish them for once and for all. I will lead the charge to do so. I will also learn one personal detail about Hakon before he dies.
First tip is Hawkan.
Achieve!
I may die happy. That's right.
Sorry, I was. Okay, the first one. The first of Harthenrod Greenbeard's desires is to protect the forest and beasts from all that would harm them without honour and respect. Slaying a beast is no sin if it is done with honour, but if it is done without honour, then you are without honour, and you will die! And the other one is to hunt a beast so mighty that the very mountains shall crack at its passing and death.
Right.
Great.
So.
The other one is to discover my inside voice.
You don't ever go inside.
No, I don't. That's why I'm going to discover it. Is to go inside. What is this indoors?
Can we just quickly check in on character pronouns? We would, let's, as far as I'm aware, we all know the pronouns we're all currently using, but let's just confirm our own pronouns and our character pronouns. So my pronouns are she, her, and Lycetra's are also she, her.
Yeah, ditto, she, her, she, her.
He, him.
And also he, him, he, him.
So, we begin. We begin in spring, and as a keeper of the mountain, I get to define the action as I am favoured in spring. So, we look upon, drawing from actually something you mentioned earlier, we look upon this bizarre spire that seems to grow out of the very earth of the Mithrin realm. From each compass point, it looks different. From one, it looks like a grand oak tree, from another, a spire of ice, from another, falling sands, and from another, a waterfall, taller than any previously imagined or witnessed. And this is the home of the Deathless Sovereign. This is where they reside, at the precise centre point of the Mithrin realm. Outside, there are people in small villages that surround this spire, at varying levels of connection to the sovereign, and consequently varying connections of wealth, varying levels of wealth. And additionally, the very weather seems to differ from these compass points. So there is a desert area with storms. There is one which is a lush and verdant lake that perhaps goes out to where the guild-related lakes deals with other business. The oak tree tapers down to this sprawling forest, and this icicle goes out to this enormous frozen expanse with different villages all adapted to those areas around them. And if you look very closely at the frozen expanse, moving like a pack of wolves with great speed is Lycetra, because the action that I wish to carry out during this season is I using all the speed that I may muster, will speak to every community, every town leader, every head of tribe that I can in the entirety of the Mithrin realm to assure their support in overthrowing the Deathless Sovereign. I will go to every single leader, controller that I can in the entire realm. Does anyone want to challenge me in this act? If you do, then say, this cannot stand, we will duel.
This cannot stand. We will duel.
Will anyone help me succeed?
I support your message. But we cannot vacate the caverns now.
I understand. And your support still means a great deal to me, even if I cannot have your weapon by my side.
The callers of the forest care not for this petty argument. There are beasts to hunt waking from their slumber.
The Deathless Sovereign preserves all beasts. Will you not fight for his honour?
No.
You could say, will anyone help me stop them? But I fear that you will have no allies in this fight.
Formalities must be undergone. Will anybody help me stop them?
No.
Again, the caverns. Lot of.
I may help you with your petty concerns one day. Goodbye.
Both the attacker and the defender state their goals for this duel. My goal is to continue unabated and speak to every leader within the Mithrin realm.
My goal is to stop you speaking to any, and in doing so, demonstrate my strength and earn your love.
My mind. This is
The
frisson.
We now go
That's not how you say
into
that.
making. We now go
you
into
say it?
making statements.
Joke, but something else.
We now go into making statements about the duel, and if at any point one of us wants to initiate the haiku writing phase, we say, I begin to write. And the attacker, which is Horkan, starts.
As you leave the shelter of the trees, Horkan appears from the sky in front of you, as if from a fold in the fabric of the universe, and stands firm in front of you and says, no more.
You are fixed with the strangest, darkest stare of empty eyes that you have ever felt or witnessed in your nightmares. And it's almost as if someone reaches into your mind to whisper words that you never see their mouth say, but in your mind you hear, stand aside for this fight is not yours.
Though the eyes are empty, Horkan feels full and says, this fight is mine, this fight is all of ours. It is for the soul of the land upon which I stand.
With one swift move of my bare hand, I lift, I smack the earth beneath you, shattering and shuddering it until you stand in nothing but a crater, and shout out, you stand on nothing.
Horkan is not standing. You've destroyed the earth, but he is not sunk. He flies above the earth and says, yes, because you make it nothing, as you would do to our ruler.
I begin to run, hoping that I can outpace your wings as I seemingly shift into a pack of wolves.
Hawken jumps into the air and, squinting his surprisingly beady dark brown eyes, tries to follow the pack of wolves even as they skim through trees. He is obsessed, obsessive, following, focused.
The wolves head into a river that weaves through the forest trees that they have led into. And as they run through it, they grab fish with their mouths and throw them back into the air to cascade down upon you in a baffling rain.
Hawken eats the rain. His mouth, now like a beak, eats the rain right up, and he flies faster and faster at the source of the thrown fish.
Lycetra tumbles out of the water, no longer in the form of wolves, but in the form of herself, and decides that even if this is a battle that must be fought one step at a time, slowly begins that walk, and I begin to write. So, we only have Justin. Can you please be timekeeper?
Yes, I can.
I think just because we're getting into the swing of things, 45 seconds
Yep.
is only fair, and we are going to write the first line of this haiku.
Ready, steady, haiku. That's 45 seconds, guys.
Stop it. Stop it.
Stop it. Who is going to...
So, in this round as well, Justin and Vic, you essentially are the Deathless Sovereign. You will judge these haiku lines.
Perfectly, there's two of us, so we can do the whole hive mind thing. When one of us is loud, the other
Not really a hive mind, is
It's not
it?
really a hive mind, is it? No.
Can you say exactly the same things at the same time?
Yes.
Yes.
We can.
My offering to the Deathless Sovereign, even though I consider them worthless of such offerings and something that must be cast away into the blackness.
You're not helping yourself.
No, it is.
I know, but I have to play it. There's some cheeky apostrophes here.
Love a cheeky apostrophe.
I hate a cheeky apostrophe.
Wings,
Hive mind, dude.
Yeah, we have differences of
Okay,
opinion.
we need to get back.
Sorry.
wings against fur, raise ground. And it's raise as in when you raise and destroy.
But also nice double meaning because she's mountains and the raising.
My liege, I offer you these words in humble tribute. Cold earth, can hearts warm?
Both good.
It's now up to the sovereign.
That one does have a cheeky apostrophe.
So wings against fur, raise ground.
Yes, the cheeky apostrophe is to take away the A of against.
And
Who else at Chaucer?
and
Cold earth, can hearts warm? Question mark.
is that like Yoda speak? Cold earth can hearts warm? Or is it cold earth, semicolon, can hearts warm?
I've got it as cold earth, full stop, can hearts warm?
Oh, that's
Well,
nice.
stop.
Yeah, read it and
Tough choice.
Read it.
Tough
Tough
call.
choice.
Tough call. I think I'm leaning that way. I think I'm leaning towards the cheeky
Shall
apostrophe
we say it
also.
at the same time?
Yes. Wait.
Oh, wait, so
1, 2, 3. Wings gainst fur, raise ground.
That is our first line of the apostrophe. And I get a dice.
I got so much stick in a practice game for confusing syllables, and we're immediately encouraging cheeky apostrophes to shave
You
off
know
syllabic
what?
units.
There's
Anyway,
still-
sorry, never mind.
There's still only 5
If you
syllables.
used a cheeky apostrophe, you would have been fine.
So whoever
You
wins,
didn't.
Yeah, it's the dishonest cheat.
Yeah.
whoever wins that becomes the attacker and starts the statements about the duel. So, where did we leave it? We left it with tumbling out of the river and such. Like, I begin taking my sword of stone and ice and cutting at the very sky itself, creating holes in which to catch your bird.
Hawkan flies into these holes. He does not mind being caught, but what you see as he goes into them is strange. Suddenly bursts of feathers emerge from nowhere, from the sky itself, and cover your eyes, rendering you unable to see, albeit briefly.
In the moments of unseeing, my memory flicks over every moment in which I have seen Hawkan. Every moment that I have seen someone abuse their ability to fly and take on the form of animals of which they are unworthy, but equally every moment where Hawkan has been a worthy opponent.
Watching you remember, Hawkan untangles himself from one of these sky holes and approaches you, trying to use the cord of his silver robe to restrain your hands or feet whilst you are blinded.
Feeling cords of a robe seemingly wrapping around me, I use my strength and my resolve to push you hundreds, if not thousands, of feet from me, as with a cry that sounds almost like an avalanche in action, I scream out against your attack.
Now hundreds of feet away, surveying the devastation, Hawkan screams, "Look what you do to the realm," and he starts to write.
Can we have 1 minute because this is 7 syllables?
Oh no, that's an hour.
That's a bad miss.
That's a bad miss. 1 minute starts now. Need to get some of that elevator music.
Mike, please don't do that.
It's
really hard to write.
It's like doing the mime dance.
Sorry, I've paused it so you may make up some of the time.
Cool thing.
Yeah, we should capitalise on this, get some sponsorship in.
Yeah, I know.
Let's flog some stuff.
No, we're not allowed to do product placement. Yeah. Do the sort of budget alternative version, like Mulbers cider.
Sprunt.
Crisps. Oh, they're horrid. Not my joke. That's time. Who went first last time? You went first
I went
last time.
first last time.
You can go first this time.
Great liege, I offer you these words in tribute. I hope they are worthy as you are. Those who push away cannot hold. As a full stop. No, at the end of that, yeah. That's those who push away cannot hold.
No, it's after mine. It's under that one.
But I think they make
It's
one.
yeah, they-
They will
I'm
make
still
one,
responding
but
to.
we're keeping track.
Yeah, cool. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Illegitimate power-seizing mass. This is what I offer to you.
Oh, I thought that was your bit. I was like, that's a lot of syllables.
For a second, I thought you got
Okay.
illegitimate, and I was like,
Yeah.
damn it. No.
Bonds of the land bind but few. Whom does the deathless sovereign deem worthy?
The deathless sovereign deems,
Those who push away cannot hold.
seeing as it follows on very nicely from wings against fur raised ground. Those who push away cannot hold.
So I get 2
Did
dice?
you guess
Yes,
two?
you get 2 dice.
My thanks, sovereigns.
Hey, you're welcome.
You also now become the attacker again because you won, and so you can start up the description.
Horkan stands there looking more human than you've seen him in a little while, and he has dark, imploring eyes, and he says to you, and you know what? This is the first time it's almost ventured out of monotone, but only just. Stop this. Stop all of this, and it can be as it was.
Not saying a word, but reaching out a hand as an invitation. Lycetra waits for your acceptance.
Warily, as if there is some trap, Horkan nonetheless feels the stirrings of some of the memories that he has shared with Lycetra, and tentatively puts his hand, not his writing hand, in hers.
The moment that you do, the entire world around you seems to disappear to dust, and you are standing exactly where you once were, but hundreds of years ago. The sun seems to burn brighter, the wind seems to carry a cleaner air, and Lycetra stands in front of you saying, I remember exactly how this was. Do you not miss this time?
Horkan looks around, feels exactly how it was. It's not like anything he's felt before. Even revisiting is different to being somewhere for the first time. And he's speechless, rendered mute.
Lycetra pulling her arm away, and suddenly the world as it is piles in on you like rocks that bludgeon you with their brutality, and with how much darker the world is now, caves in, and you can see things as they currently are.
Horkan, bloodied and bruised, pulls himself to his feet and says, I may be hurt, but I will not yield. And he starts to write.
Okay.
Please do a timer.
45 seconds again.
45. Come up
Oh,
with
no.
your mute entertainment.
And begin.
Should we like charades?
Oh. Ghost.
12 seconds left. Sit tight.
And that is time.
Oh, that's a lovely feature that goes into minus, so you know how much it's been going for.
Yeah, it's a good bit.
Ah,
It's a good
Apple,
bit.
get on that level.
Yeah, I know, right? Get on the level.
Also, give us the headphone jack and stop, using slaves and pay your taxes. Anyway,
Unwanted tyrants who continue their iron grasp over the Mithrin realm.
Hello.
it's a bit much.
This is the closure which I offer to you. Trust falls through fingers. That was a good hive mind hum.
Let's have the whole thing. So wings against fur.
Raise ground.
Wings
Those who push away cannot hold. Trust falls through fingers.
Ooh, that's a bleak ending.
So, noble sovereigns, let me tender to you these words. I hope they are not as hollow as I feel.
Right.
Wings against fur raise ground. Those who push away cannot hold. The past is empty.
So we have wings against fur raise ground. Those who push away cannot hold. Trust falls through fingers. Wings against fur raise ground. Those who push away cannot hold. The past is empty.
I like both. But you've got to make a choice. Yeah.
The immortal sovereign has decided that the winner of that shall be the past is empty. Because for me, it kind of finishes it. Like, the trust falls through fingers sounds like something's going to come next. But the past is empty is a nice...
Wanting more.
It's a haiku, there is no more!
It is clear the Deathless Sovereign is mad with power, but I must
Yeah.
respect the process.
Go mad with power.
So you also get 3. I get an extra dice just because I'm favoured in this season.
Just because I'm famous.
Because I'm famous. And this is where we roll off. And we're
Yeah.
basically looking to have the greater width. So whether we have like a treble or a pair of dice that are the same, that means that we win in our aim.
Let's-
Either I'm going to talk to everyone in this land, or you're going to stop me from talking to anyone, and win my heart.
We'll demonstrate my strength and try and earn your love.
Okay.
It's a little
You
bit
can
less.
try and- yeah.
It's not like.
Wait, you mean establish truth?
Oh yeah.
Ah!
Yay!
That thing we forgot every time. Well
Yeah,
done.
I know. I wrote it on a cheat sheet of rules and I still forgot it. So we each get to establish a truth.
But you got to
Um,
spend a dice to do it.
Hmm?
Then you have to spend a dice to establish your truth.
I think it's just a thing that you
You're the
can do.
facilitator.
As far as I'm aware, I am very sorry if I'm remembering the rules wrong. But it can't be anything to do with the actual aims that we have. But I'm going to say that my truth for this I now see the value in your ancestry being granted to you.
Okay.
I no longer hold that against you as a icon of hatred.
Thank you. Hawken's truth is that you've planted a seed of doubt in him about his course of action because he has seen the value of, and the power of the past.
And now we roll.
And now we roll. I've got shit,
Yeah.
as they say.
Do you have any pairs?
I've got a pair of 2s.
I've got a pair of 3s! However, it means that I've won, but because we both have pairs rather than me having like 3s or 4s, because it's about the breadth of dice, you get to describe how my victory falls out, and you also get to write the haiku of how my victory falls out.
Cool. I'll do the haiku in a sec.
Sure.
Rather than just freewheeling right now.
Oh, mate.
Freewheeling haiku!
Yeah.
You have won. Yes, you have won. You have. Whatever. As you win, Hawken falls to the floor, clearly defeated. But how I would like this to work, I suppose, is that there has been a well-matched combat in which each has won something of the other's respect. And though you do speak to every single person in the land, it is in the breathless, wild-eyed way of someone who has come from a fight. And so there is something about it that is perhaps a little bit less persuasive than it would have been were you able to go unstopped.
Yeah,
Is that
I think
fair?
that's very fair.
Okay.
Do you want to like have a bit of time to write that haiku?
I'll just write that haiku now. You guys, you do a thing.
Well, we'll go around in season order. So it'll be you next, trying to establish your truth. As we've already shown, we can stretch out these fights for quite some time, so not every action is going to go challenged, because otherwise we will never get to winter. But what is the action that you wish to take during spring?
I think that Hearthenrod Greenbeard desires to do a tour of the deep forests has unstrung Whispershard, the mighty bow, and is going to strike every tree outside every animal den to wake the animals to the new year and to raise them from their hibernation as Hearthenrod sings the song of wakening, death far from his mind.
I mean, I'm not going to challenge
No,
you.
that's lovely.
I have no bones against such acts. Would there be any reason that Hawken would have issue?
Hawken is still consumed with his own defeat, and so pays no heed to this action.
Fantastic. Something I
Great.
forgot from the earlier ones is the fact that I get a glory because I won. And so whilst I walk through the entirety of the realm, slightly wild-eyed and breathless, my determination becomes legendary.
Ooh, nice.
So that is the glory that I reap from that fight. So you also, I think you also gain a glory, as if you had won a duel, because you've gone unopposed and you've achieved something.
So just do nice things. So I think that
you are just like the male equivalent, or like the very like hyper mask equivalent of Snow White, like singing to all the animals in the forest and getting ready for the day.
Instead, I'm leaf green. I think that now Hearthenrod Greenbeard is now recognised by the animals as their sort of not their leader, but sort of first among equals, and as the bringer of wakefulness, and as the recognised kind of avatar of the forests.
Nice.
Good dome title.
I've got a haiku for your victory.
Okay.
Nice.
So that first haiku was: wings 'gainst fur raise ground. Those who push away cannot hold. The past is empty. And in honour of your victory, a fresh haiku has been composed. As feather falls away, empty eyes stare brave into the void. Now, always.
Nice.
John Vermont.
Yes! When it's just you, you couldn't jam all you like.
Yeah!
These are my jams.
Vic,
Right, yes.
what action would you like to take?
I think as a new year dawns, and still this conflict with, what are we calling them again? The people of the Earth Heart?
The deep realm of the Earth's heart.
The deep realm of the Earth's heart.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. Continues on, and we hear their pickaxes chipping ever closer, and they have broken through into the main tunnels now. Deep down, the lesser used ones, but still a thing. Luma goes to the leaders of her group, the Diamond Seam and the Golden Seam, and she says to them, "We are great warriors, we are sentinels, and we have kept our vigil for thousands of years. But we have never faced conflicts like this. I must go, and I must seek aid to finally end this. There has been too much loss of life. Let me go seek the other tribes." And that is going to be her action. She is going to set out to find people to help join her in vanquishing the deep realm of the Earth's heart and sending them back to the depths where they belong.
Does anyone oppose this action?
I think it sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. Fully behind that.
Yep.
Hawken is too consumed with his defeat to pay attention to such action.
You gain a glory as you begin your quest.
I think being one of the first people from the Keepers of the Caverns to venture out of the caverns, she becomes known as Luna the Wanderer.
Håkan is going to, not flying but on foot, make his way to the land of his guild. Go and apologise to the elders of his guild and ask them for their permission to be their delegate to the ceremony of ascension.
Oh, so he's trying to go to the ceremony of ascension.
He has asked his
to
leaders
be
for
involved there.
permission to represent his guild at the ceremony of ascension. He has formed an internal action, perhaps. No, but that's the plan.
That just goes to the bathroom.
Does anyone wish to oppose this act?
I don't think so.
My character wouldn't be a fan, but I feel like it's a dick move to suddenly have like another fight which is just the two of us, and also I wouldn't necessarily know because I'm too busy walking and talking.
Yeah, I'm singing too loudly. The song is just wake up, wake up,
Boom,
wake
boom,
up,
boom, boom.
smack.
Not a lyricist.
No.
Big on poets.
Yeah,
but not
big
a
on.
lyricist.
Yeah.
Okay, in that case, we have all obtained a glory.
Håkan is now honoured of his guild because they have permitted him this high honour despite his ignominious defeat.
Nice.
So remember, in future duels, if you want your glory to earn you a dice, you have to mention it in the establishing sentences where you're trading details. However, we move on to summer,
Excellent.
where Hearthenrod is favoured. Set the scene.
Hearthenrod Greenbeard, having shed his spring form of blackthorn blossom as a beard, and of small shoots and snowdrops as a cloak, is now in his full summer finery of rich green leaves as a beard and fulsome branches of a cloak. And Hearthenrod Greenbeard has decided that the time has come for the great hunt. That although traditionally done in autumn, his position as the recognised avatar of forests and animals mean he is drunk of the nectar of the forest and is now sort of drunken on enthusiasm on the flourishing life of the forest. And so blowing a mighty horn, sort of, he calls all together to go out into the forest to hunt the mightiest beasts.
This shall not stand.
Ooh.
The hunt is for autumn, our season. You cannot simply take it and place it in summer, not least because we have sought your help and you have not replied, too busy with your frolicking in the woods.
And yet you misunderstand my aim. Summer is the highest point of life. And so, what better way to rouse Hunasin from their slumber than to offer the greatest death that has ever graced the year, the death of the mightiest beast at the height of the season of life, shall rouse them from their sleep.
Every day my people are dying. Every day we have fought off the threat from below, and yet you would concern yourselves with petty affairs of those already crossed to the grave.
You may invite others to see if they will help you succeed or help you stop.
Will any of you help me force the coolers of the forests to set aside their petty sport and join a real force for the good of the entirety of this nation?
I have a great travel and a great quest ahead of me, and much as you gave your support in spirit but not in hand or sword, so must I reply with the same.
If I help you in your noble quest, will you return the favour, Luma?
What do you seek?
I seek the preservation of the deathless sovereign above all else. And by implication, the safety of the land.
I know that Lycetra?
Lycetra.
I know that Lycetra seeks to displace the deathless sovereign. However, high idealism, it is not the way of my people who dwell in the dark and the damp and the cold. We are preoccupied with real threats. If you can assist me, if you can gather the aid of your tribe and force the callers of the forest to join with us too, I will help you persist in whatever affairs are present on the surface.
It will be hard for me to gather the callers of the forest in this moment as you attack the callers of the forest. But if I help you in this, will you help me in mine?
I will.
I join the fight.
You may ask if anyone shall help you.
Shall anyone help me?
I cannot join in your shouts, but I have my own conversations to bear and my own words to carry.
Already helping.
Already signed up, mate.
I have committed to fight you.
Yes. Also, we need a deathless sovereign to judge the haiku.
Yes, that we do. Right.
So, state your goals for the duel.
My goals are to convince or force the calls of the forest to set aside their hunt and join my people in quelling the threat that rises from below, deep in the caverns where I know they fear to tread.
And Hearthenrod's aim is to find a beast so mighty and so full of life that at the very peak of midsummer, its death shall rouse Kulisin, who opens the way from their decade-long slumber.
Nice. So, we begin with the attacker, who is Luma.
There is no need for this pageantry. Coulison is sleeping. Let him rest. Conduct the rites or appoint someone new. He is but mortal. He is but man. The fact he wavers between life and death is mere testament to the fact he is not really a champion of death after all.
And seizing Splitter Hugh, Hearthenrod in a rage deals a mighty blow to the nearest tree that it doesn't even cut it in half, it simply shatters into a million splinters, each one of which as they falls takes the form of another piece of the last of spring's blossom. And says, "Why do you not understand this? Sleep is not death, although it may be similar to it. The sleep has nothing to do with death, but they must be roused so that people can cross over. Why do you put the concerns of now over the concerns of the future?"
Because now is when my people die. They are not waiting to pass over. They have passed. They are gone. Their bodies sink into the earth, into the clay. We bury them with gems and with rock. There is no need for ritual. Death comes to us whether we wait for it, prepare for it, worship it or not.
But surely you must understand that though death comes for all, is that not a reason for ritual and ceremony and celebration? And as he does this, he casts his hands to the sky, and a brand new, on the base of this tree that was shattered, a new, even more richly hued tree bursts forth and flourishes into glorious technicolor life as this sort of sky-spanning tree reaches up through the clouds and birds burst from its branches.
Oh yes, don't forget Hawken speaking of birds.
Oh shit.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Seeing this beautiful explosion, Hawken steps out from behind a neighbouring elm
Oh.
and quietly murmurs, "All in its right place. The sovereign enthroned, the hunt in autumn."
Ooh.
And then stop speaking.
And I think Hearthenrod will respond by striding up and with a single huge sort of hand that sort of squirms almost like roots. He grasps the front of Hawken's robes and lifts them up off the floor in one stroke and says, "The hunt waits not. The hunt happens when the hunt wishes to happen, as you would understand if you spent any time outside in the true world rather than in your..." Are you water or...
Yeah.
rather than on your boats with your feet far distant from the good earth, and casts you backwards with a mighty throw into a bush that sort of emerges and sort of forms itself into a throne for you to land in.
Very nice.
Luma will go over to some of the debris that you've created with your rampages and pick it up and go, "You are wasteful. and capricious. It makes sense. You have lived in this world of plenty. You do not know what it means to starve. To eke out existence from every piece of rock, every seam of silver. But I know. And you see that as you're turning it around, the hand the debris is turning into a practical, functional tool. It's turning into a smaller pick. And she can reach goes, but I know what it means. That is why I value today, because today is all we are promised. Tomorrow is anyone's. Tomorrow we will be dead. By the end of this year, we will be dead. I seek to fight for the real threats, not waste my time in sport.
And Harthenrod says, but once more you fail to understand. You say that you understand privation and suffering by living from under the earth and living from silver. Yet that is not a natural way to live. You draw sustenance from inanimate metals and minerals, when truly you should draw it from the life, from the ground. And he puts his hand into the ground and lifts out a great sod of earth that's squirming with life and worms. And although it's kind of worms and insects, it sort of seems beautiful and rich. And you see how decay is a source of life, and how even at the height of life, when life is fullest, that death and even, yes, destruction can cause the flourishing of new life if you only knew where to look, away from your sparkling minerals.
Pulling himself out of your tangled golden throne that you have made for him, Hawken takes a huge leap into the air and hovers silently as a human, but with a sword out in one hand, pen the other, looking down his nose at the scene beneath him, waiting to strike.
And as Harthenrod speaks to you and shows you this, and kind of with tenderness, in fact, holds it up to your face, and you see that there is tenderness in his eyes. That actually he takes great joy in these passionate arguments with you. But as he sort of moves closer to you, he sees a flicker in the corner of his eyes, and looking up and seeing Hawkan far above with a raised sword, casts this sod of earth and insects to the ground, which wriggles away, and drawing and stringing Whispershard with a single smooth motion, launches an arrow the thickness of a tree trunk that whistles through the air with a roar, leaving a trail of flaming smoke behind it as it combusts in the burning midsummer sun.
Look at my eyes, and you look into these eyes which are just etched rocks in her face. Not all life breathes. Not all life blooms. And I begin to write.
Ooh.
Woo. Good luck fitting all of that into 5 syllables. Oh, Justin, would you be able to?
Yes.
And then I can. Terribly sorry that my phone cannot do it. Go. I feel like I've exhausted this. It's harder when there's only one. 10 seconds left.
Fuck!
2, 1. What offerings do you mortals have for the Deathless Sovereign?
It's really bad. I'm kind of embarrassed. Okay.
Don't worry, it's 45 seconds to then pack everything you've all just said into some form of...
It's death from below.
From earth and stone, life.
Deathless Sovereign, I offer you tenderly the words of my friend. Lip curls when he says friend, like friend. Not all life breathes.
Not all life breathes. You leave me wanting precisely one syllable.
breathes.
Do you have a remedy for this?
Not all life blooms.
I'm still
Change things.
wondering.
When I hunt, you'll see. There we go.
Alright. It's not. We're not trying to be mean. Tom's a professional writer and is really good at it and successful, and therefore it feels like it's not the harshest thing to sometimes joke about it.
Also, it's not a complex thing to get right.
Tom is
It
the
would
most
seem.
accomplished writer here, and therefore the only one we can mock.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it works, right? The deathless sovereign smiles upon one of you who has sated their appetite for poetry. And it is Hearthenrod.
So what is that first line? Can we go again?
From earth and stone, life.
Because you won, you may begin the next round.
So the last thing you said was that not all life breathes.
Not all life breathes.
Not all life breathes.
Sadly, 4 syllables.
And this Hearthenrod changing like a storm in summer to a bright day, throws back his head and roars with laughter, and the very trees seem to shake as the shockwave of this bellowing laughter, and his heaving belly shivers the leaves. And he says, "Well, of course, look around you." And you see, and he say, "Not all life breathes, but all life moves and pulses with it." And your senses seem to be sharpened as he cups his hand to his ear and invites you to do the same. And you can hear the sound of liquid being pumped into the roots of plants, and the gentle creaking as the flowers turn towards the sun, and as the leaves do likewise, and as the trees grow infinitesimally slowly. And as you do this, you seem to be aware of time speeding up. And as you look around you, you see all of every single living thing. Even the moss moves very slightly, and all in this kind of pulsing wave of motion.
As you're looking at the moss, the picture almost seems to zoom in, and the moss becomes everything in your vision, and then suddenly you're back, and it zooms back out, and you realise you're in one of the caverns. And that same moss is creeping up the walls, and you see mushrooms and algae in the drip of water. And suddenly it's pierced by a splash of vibrant red blood splashing across all the life down here. And you look up and you see what's essentially a battle, as figures force their way up through the earth and slay figures with similar features to Luma. And she says, "I know you fear to come down here. I know you fear to stray from the sun. But we are dying."
And sort of moved and taken aback by this, yet this only hardens Hearthenrod's resolve. He says, "But look also at what happens without the rites and the burial and the correct rituals." And as you, once again, as very much you did, zooming in to the mould and the algae, you zoom into the corpses, and within the corpses you see the multiplying multitudes of bacteria and viruses and disease and fungus. And as these corpses lie unburied and without the correct rites to dispose of them, whether it be the sky burial of leaving them out to be excarnated by the animals that the cause of the forest do, or the underground burials of your people, you see that by refusing to do the correct rites, now there's no blood this time, but there are more corpses. As disease spreads, sort of we see it multiply, and then we pull out and we see a child of your people frothing from the mouth and twitching in their bed as the plague takes them. He says, "Do you not understand?"
Morgan looks on, concerned.
How can you refuse these rites that don't only give comfort, but serve a purpose too? Something need not be crude and unadorned to be practical. And with this, once again, he he doesn't grasp his bow. He grasps Splitter Hue, and you see this wonderful kind of carved ash shaft that's detailed and beautiful, and is sort of had ochre kind of sort of ground into its swirling designs all the way up, and it's covered in feathers and pelts and tails and teeth, and it's wonderfully decorated. But at its core, you see the simple green stone, polished axe head that is not only beautiful, and the axe is not only beautiful and embellished, but is utterly functional.
Luma will walk over to the child, the diseased, plague-ridden child who is now dead, and hold it by the throat and say, "You want them buried, so bury them." And a pit opens and she just throws the child in and it closes up at the top. You're searching for rites and ritual and comfort. There is no comfort in death, only endings. The only thing you can do is try and stop it.
And with the sudden cold of a cloud passing over the sun on a midsummer's day, and with a bitter realization in his eyes, Hearthenrod, Greenbeard, kneels on the ground, and towards him comes a twig that he plucks off, and in the dry, dusty earth he begins to write.
Nice. Okay, you've got 1 minute. Beginning now. For anyone on the stream, I'll do a play along charades.
Pushing. Man the box. Mine.
That. Nope, don't worry, you've still got 15 seconds because it's on 45 seconds.
Stacking. Building. Constructing. Building a box. Building a wall. Wall. Sounds like.
That is the end of that minute. I was trying to do The Wolf of Wall Street. So, what offerings do you give the deathless sovereign to make them smile once more in this barren world?
Deathless Sovereign, let me make amends by rendering unto you the words that have been etched upon us always. From earth and stone life, there is no right way to end. But it's a pun spelling of R-I-T-E.
Oh! The Deathless Sovereign appreciates much your wordplay.
You're on my side.
Homophones will always win the favour of the Deathless Sovereign.
Homophobes will not.
They're good rules.
Yeah. General kind of rules
Good
for life.
rules for life.
Homophones.
Homophobes.
From earth and stone life. Death from flesh, cold remembrance.
From earth and stone life, to earth and stone death's embrace.
Ooh. The Deathless Sovereign is torn between the offerings of Luma and of Hawken. However, in times such as these, times rife with struggle, with bitter battles fought with no end in sight, the decider must always be the homophone. Therefore, Hawken is victorious.
Good advice.
Your wisdom knows no limits. No puns there.
I was hoping that it was going to be something about my proboscis and that nose was a homophone, but you don't want them all.
Yeah.
I certainly do not.
So, you get 2 for that. And as the winning side, either of you can start this description.
Hawkan looks at the burial battle that is going on, and a small patch of the forest turf starts to open and some congealed water pours out. You note the burial rituals of the Guardians of the Lake often involve simply disposing bodies in the sacred lake from which they also drink and bathe.
Is it sensible? It's like a high risk of infection.
And looking on this congealing water and the semi-submerged carcasses within, Hawken looks proud and stronger than ever.
Luma is very attracted to you right now. FYI.
Seeing that, seeing the sort of the return and feeling again a grudging respect that sort of repulsed by his cold dampness, and yet respecting the return of the bodies into the water, that they may give life anew and be used to nourish life. He recalls his purpose, and feeling that there is no further point in this argument, and having now seen a side to Luna that he did not suspect before, he blows his horn once more and simply charges into the forest with whisper shards strung, eyes darting backwards and forwards, calling to the beasts, of whom he now is their avatar and leader, to see if he can find the greatest one of all in the woods.
You disappoint me. And you look around and Luma seems to be everywhere. In every rock, in every stone. Suddenly every pebble seems to be her eyes. With that same etching. And it's not like she's physically there, she's just there. It just says, these caverns run beneath this entire nation. The war we fight down there will be this nation's war so soon. It will tear your forests apart. It will ruin your hunts. It will drain your lakes, and it will topple your mountains.
And with a bitter savagery, as Harthenrod Greenbeard, despite running with steps that seem to resound in these caverns below, like drumming, the leaves that he passes barely shiver. And as he runs, he starts to come up into out from the forest and up into mountains. And as he runs over a bare patch of earth, he says, "The realms of the mortals may crumble and be destroyed by war from within, and yet, in destruction and death, there is always a way to find new life." And you see, as his foot lands on the edge of this bare plateau of stone, you see small tendrils of plants covering it over with a fresh mat over what you see now was once an area burned by fire, as life slowly, tentatively reasserts itself.
You get a premonition of the coming winter as Hawkan steps onto the place that you have lovingly shown regenerate, and you see the ice come there. Where there was fire, where there was life, now there is a chilly frost of winter and the promise of a long, dark night as Hawken stamps upon that same surface.
And now filled with a kind of frantic desperation and blasting on his horn repeatedly, that is answered by the baying of hounds and wolves deep in the forests. Harthenrod attempts to call forth a mighty beast from deep within this mountain cleft, and at first there's sort of and and this kind of echoing and the sound of a few stones that tumble from the tops of the mountains. And there's a brief silence as now the sound of falling feet has been replaced by the sound of clattering hooves, and you see that now Harthenrod's lower legs are those of a satyr, and he now has the legs of a deer as he blows his horn, and silence, and then distantly the trumpeting of an ancient mountain mammoth meets him from deep within the cleft.
Enough of this. Enough of your games and your glory. Enough of hiding from death and truth and wishing for rebirth when you have to accept that nothing is the end of all things. If I struck this mammoth down, a new one would not grow in its place come spring. So be it that if you struck down my mother, my friends, my children, they would not grow anew like plants. This is war, not a sporting hunt. And I begin to write.
Ooh.
Okay. 3, 2,
What was the last line?
There is no right way to end. Right as in ritual.
Thank you.
I'm gonna wait until everyone's got that written down. 3, 2, 1. Haiku! Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. I was trying to do the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Right. What offerings, to round off those you have made thus far, do you have for the Deathless Sovereign?
O deathless liege, let us offer these willing, living words to you. From earth and stone, life, there is no right way to end. All must die. We shall. With a caesura. We shall.
From earth and stone life, there is no right way to end, but it always ends.
O deathless sovereign, I come bearing this paltry gift. From earth and stone life, there is no right way to end. Time makes all deaths small.
Two of you have faltered in your offerings, suggesting that death comes to every individual when the Deathless Sovereign is above such things, and suggesting, what was your line again?
Time makes all deaths small.
Suggesting that death should be a small thing when my very existence is founded upon the avoidance of it. Therefore, Luma takes the prize.
I ate trash.
O deathless sovereign, we have failed you. May I offer you my life in penance?
Bloody hell.
The only lives that the Deathless Sovereign takes are those which are absorbed and become one with it. How dare you suggest that you should be worthy of such a thing after having failed me? Instead, you may confirm your truths. I felt very mean, I'm very sorry.
I will say that my truth will be, at the end of this, my hatred for Herthion
Hearth and Rod.
Hearth and Rod, sorry. Right, better names. Will have intensified from his frivolity and believing that everything I suspected about him has been confirmed. But nevertheless, I will respect his valour and his power and hope that I can convince him to join the fight below.
And my truth is that although I had loved Luma's self-control, I realise now that Luma's self-control is not in fact self-control. It is simply an unbending blind dogmatism. And my love for her has withered as the small shoots frozen by Horkan withered. And now, not merely do I no longer love her, but now I hate her.
Wow.
Oh, how the times have changed.
So, you all have your dice. Hearth and Rod, you are favoured
So
in
I
this
get an
season.
extra one.
Did anyone manage to mention their
Sure.
glories?
Yeah.
No.
I said I was the avatar of the beasts, and so they all told me where to find the mammoth.
Therefore, you get one extra dice for that.
How many do I start with?
You start with 3, and then you get 3 because of winning the final line of haiku.
Thanks.
Careful of rolling on there because it'll sound well loud.
I'll
for
roll
those
on the
guys.
floor.
Can Hawken give his dice to his ally in the fight? Or is that just a different thing?
Ooh, because normally it just says that everyone would roll with their dice. You know what? I'm going to allow it. Kind of makes sense. You'd also have your own pool of 3 that you'd start with. So I guess that would be the same, because otherwise you're not rolling like anywhere near the number of dice that you would as a group. So yeah, if you throw over 3 dice as well.
Okay, yeah.
Oh my god!
This is slightly different to, I think, rules is writ, but rules is like intended and spirit, etc. I think this is fair. This is what happens when people work as a team, Hearth and Rod.
Shut up.
Join a good
God.
fight.
So, roll. So you're looking for how many matches you have?
No, you can.
Do you only have one set of match aims?
I have only a pair. What's that? I have only a pair of 2s.
I have 3 6s and 3 3s and 2
Yeah.
4s.
Normally it's about breadth. However, I'm going to say that if someone has like that many dice in pairs that are above your number, kind of feels fair.
Yeah.
Describe your victory, and then you can get a haiku about your victory. It is partially shared with Horkan.
Oh, indeed, yes.
It's your age.
Where do we leave things of the mammoth?
Yeah.
Yeah. As the mammoth approaches, Luma produces from her hand a beautifully engraved tiny diamond and throws it at the mammoth's head, and it rears back, almost shot through the brain. And she says, "Bring it back. Show me your rebirth." And she looks at Hakon, and she says, "Thank you for your aid. I will support you in your future endeavours.
Hawken nods deeply.
And tell me one more thing. What do you want?"
I look shifty. And I want to write a haiku so beautiful that it would make the ice smile, that it would make a stone weep. But that is not something that I can do alone.
And Luma looks at Hearth and Rod and says, "Come winter, we unite the tribes, and we take this fight. The people of the deep heart, the earth people, the earth heart people,
The deep realm
The
of
deep
the
realm.
Earth's heart, or Dre.
the Dreps."
Oh no.
That's how I've been remembering deep realm of the Earth's heart. Dre.
Very well.
Enjoy your sport.
And that seems like a good place to take a break. So we will be back in about 10 minutes to continue this recklessly epic story. And in the meantime, you can write a haiku about your victory.
We'll start with a haiku. The best way to
Oh.
start.
I feel quite bad.
See everyone super soon.